Welcome back to the Trail Network. I'm your host, Leah Yingling, and I'm so happy you're here. On today's episode, I got to sit down in person and chat with professional runners and partners, Adam Peterman and Erin Clark from Missoula, Montana. Erin is a Nike-sponsored athlete and one of the hardest racers I know, most recently with a win at the 2023 Lake Sonoma 50 miler and a 7th place finish at the 2022 CCC. Adam is a Hoka-sponsored athlete with an undefeated track record in ultramarathons, including wins at Western States and the World Mountain and Trail Running Championships in 2022. On this episode, we dive into their last year of mutual ups and downs, their relationship as two professional athletes, and what's been giving them confidence these days. We also chat a little bit about Adam's first ultra back and battle with Devin Pancake at the Buffalo Run 50K this weekend in Salt Lake City. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Let's get to it. All right. Welcome to the Trail Network podcast, Erin and Adam. I'm your host, Leah Yingling, and I'm joined by both of you here in Salt Lake City today. Adam Peterman is coming off of first race back since, what was the last race before this?
That was a long time. I did a treadmill race like a month ago, but other than that, yeah, it's been like over almost a year.
Dang.
Yeah.
And the last one was the World Mountain and Trail Running
The last
Championships?
ultra was,
Okay.
yeah, I did some shorter races in the spring on skis, and then there was like a Sentinel hill climb race I did in May. But yeah, it's been a while, like a year and a half since ultra, which is crazy.
Good to have you back.
No, thanks. That was great. Great recommendation by Mike to
Yeah.
do Antelope Island. So that was fun.
We'll have to dive into that a little bit and hear a little bit about your day. And Erin, I think last time I saw you race was Lake Sonoma last year, almost a year ago today. How's your year been going so far?
It's been going okay. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a little bit of a rocky up and down road, but getting slightly more consistency than I've had, which doesn't necessarily say a lot, but slowly but surely, hopefully. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Adam, if you want to dig in a little bit to your winter of training, what's been going on? I know you had a little bit of an injury the last year or so. You've been building back, and I think everybody's excited to see you on a start line today. And I'm sure you were probably pretty excited to be on a start line as well. So how'd that go?
Yeah, no, thanks. It's cool how many people were like all supportive since I'm back from this injury, saying stuff like that too. So yeah, thanks. Um, but yeah, so last May I got a sacral stress fracture, and so ended up kind of wiping out the whole calendar I had for 2023. So no Western States, no CCC, nothing like that. And it took a long time to come back from it. Like I think I ended up taking about 4 months off of running, and like within that, it was almost 2.5 months of like no exercise. So yeah, like the longest time I'd ever really taken off from just like aerobic activity or running in general. So yeah, it's taken a long time to get back. You know, like most of September, October, and November were just like I never ran for more than like 45 minutes, just to be careful. Uh, but in the last few months, like things have been getting better, like pretty consistent, and yeah, it felt like uh, Canyons 100K is like my big race for the spring, and so doing this Antelope Island 50K seemed like a good tune up for that, and I thought it would be like pretty low key, and it was low key in some aspects, but competitive in other aspects, and no, it was a good day, and I'm just really stoked to be like running and feeling strong again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think you guys camped out on Antelope Island last night, which is really cool. It's a cool spot out there. Yeah, was it as chill of a race as you were anticipating? How did that play out?
Oh yeah, it's funny. Like I've always liked doing tune-up races before like a big race, and so uh, yeah, like 2 years ago I did Canyons and I did Chuckanut beforehand, and that was like a super competitive race. So uh, I didn't want to do Chuckanut this year because I just like you lose some of your confidence taking so much time off, and so I wanted to do something low key. Like my hope was to just get like this easy win and feel good. But yeah, sure enough, today like this kid who ran for I can't remember the university, but
Utah State.
In Logan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he graduated last year, but today was his first ultra, and his name's Devin Pancake, and which is awesome. But he was super nice guy, and was just like all fired up on ultras, and this was his first one. And man, he was like, we went back and forth a little bit in this first loop of it was a 33-mile race, so each loop was like 16. But we went back and forth a little bit in the first loop, and I was ahead of him for a while. He caught back up, and then we headed out on the second loop, and we were just running like so much faster than I was anticipating. Like I don't know. I thought in this race like I'd be running like 6:30s and or like I don't know, 6:30s or 7-minute pace, and it was more like 6-minute pace to like 6:15. Yeah, he was rolling. Like he's just got that leg speed, and I don't know. I'm excited for him because he's doing speed goat this year, so I think he could do really, really well. But yeah, we like rolled together through 20 miles, and it took. Yeah, he was like chatting with me and all this stuff, and I like didn't have the wind to even like respond, but I think he had like some fueling issues at mile 20 and bonked, and then I didn't see him again. But yeah, he put on it was a good race. It was way harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think Mike sent me a text earlier today and said like there's a guy that hung with Adam for 24 miles, and he said his name is Devin Pancake, and I said Pancake.
Yeah.
So awesome race for you, awesome race for him. Really cool to see you back, and excited to hear that you both are lining up for Canyon's 100K in about a month's time now.
Yeah, it's like 4 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, Erin, a little bit about your build your last year. I love to see, we chatted earlier just about like the support that you guys have for each other in your races and like how you approach that. So yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about like where you've been since Lake Sonoma last year, just raging. I know that you guys became like quite multi-sport athletes over the last year as well. Lots of biking, lots of cross training, a little bit of everything. Yeah, how's that feeling?
Yeah. Definitely both had a little bit of a rocky 2023 for sure. Which is not how I thought my 2023 would go. Like I came into Sonoma excited and like what I felt like was almost kind of like undercooked, and was excited like by that win, and was like, yes, it's gonna like snowball, gonna have like the year I've been wanting to have. And then like just turned out I just like blitzed my Achilles in that race, and have been dealing with like that and some knee stuff that's been going on for a couple years since then, essentially, and been kind of just like kind of constantly trying to rehab and like just trying to manage training weeks and loads. And it's been a little bit of an uphill battle. So a lot of biking, less skiing this year, which I think is common most places, like no snow. But yeah, so a lot of that. Got in a place where I thought, I'd be ready at least to compete. Maybe not like at my best, but ready to compete at CCC. Went out and did Sierra Zanal about 3 weeks ahead of that. Knew I was not in shape to do really well in a fast 20-mile race, and I was right, and I didn't do super well. And I was like 30th. I mean, it was a cool experience. I would like to go back because I think I can do much better there. But it was a fine experience, and then just like behaved like a dumb American over there for the next week or two, and ran way too many uphills, and totally set my Achilles off, which eventually resulted in a pretty unhappy week in Chamonix and a DNF at CCC, which I don't know. I mean, it's a huge bummer. It's tough, like looking back and being like, man, if I could just change those 5 days, like that's all it would have taken. It's just like a little bit more of a brain for 5 days. Tough pill to swallow, but yeah.
Dumb American from a trail running perspective.
Right.
Not your typical ugly American in Europe. just ran too much vert.
Yeah. Right. Different. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, sorry to interject.
No, that's good. But yeah, anyway, so since then I've kind of been on this slow return, trying to just kind of stack some more consistency. And it's for sure been like up and down with like the knee and the Achilles since September. Dealing with some knee stuff now. And I don't know, I've kind of come to understand that my training probably will never look the way I want it to. And it's generally not pretty headed into a race. And so I'm just trying to, for the most part, like take my confidence from elsewhere and, be excited that I get the opportunity to toe the line, and like as healthy as I can be when I get there. My fitness will be what it'll be, I'll do my best, but I have limitations.
No, that was actually going to be my next question, is like, what is giving you confidence right now? It sounds like you've been on quite the trajectory the last year. And I know for myself, like I tend to not be much of a confident runner. So it's really interesting to me to see like what people pull on in those moments of hardship. So what do you think is giving you confidence right now in your training?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think between some of the injuries, there have been, a few, you kind of get those flashes in training, like one workout that was like, ooh, I felt fast. Like, one long run where you're like, I felt like I could go forever today. So there've been bits and pieces of those. I'd say like maybe 3 or 4, not a ton. But I think for me, I have been someone like really throughout my whole running career where I have had a lot of high highs and low lows, and often come into races underprepared and having not had great training or having been out before that. And I think I prided myself when I was younger on being someone who was really good at showing up to the line and racing, no matter what was going on with me, like physically, just showing up and competing as hard as I could. And I'll be the first to say, like, I thought I had that dialed. I thought that was one of my strengths, and I like totally blew it at Sierras and Al and at CCC this summer. Like, regardless of my Achilles stopping me from reaching the finish line in CCC, like I derailed my race well before I ever got to the start line. And so I think I'm working with a sports psych now and trying to kind of backpedal and like figure out like what that was that I've used to like hold that confidence regardless of like things going on around me, and trying to kind of tap into that and like not make those mistakes that I made August, September.
Yeah, I love that. It's like ultra running is lifelong experience, lifelong learning. It's each year, like you think you have a great year, there's always something you can learn. So it's interesting even in like a year of relative injury for you that you're coming away with like a ton of learnings, and I'm excited to see you put it all together at Canyons.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, I definitely think I have a long ways to go still in terms of all that. But
it's such a mature perspective though, and it brings me to thinking about like you two both as like what I would consider a super high performing couple in many avenues of life. Like you guys both seem extremely balanced in your hobbies and your life and your relationship. What do those highs and lows look like for you when you're experiencing them together at different times? I know you both hold running near and dear to your heart. So whenever running is taken away or running at the capacity and the level that you want to be running, like I know last year you made the world's team and unfortunately had to pull out from that, which I'm sure was really difficult for you. How does that work out in like your relationship moments? How do you guys support each other in those highs and lows, and what does that look like?
All right, I'll go first. Big question, tough. But I think the first thing that like comes to mind for me, and I've like kind of always felt this way about our relationship, which is just I think whether this is something he's practiced or just naturally kind of is better at than me, but Adam's pretty good, I feel like, at being really even keeled and kind of keeping his emotions more like regulated and like managing some of those highs and lows a little better. And I think that's like part of the reason I gravitated towards him is I tend to be a bit more the opposite in terms of just like, like more like excitable, but also like more upset when things are bad. And so I think that's something like where I kind of like look to the way he handles things and just like how he holds himself on a day-to-day basis to kind of like balance me out sometimes, because I think I can get really stuck in the like ups and downs that you experience in a sport like this. So
yeah. Oh, I love that.
Oh man, it's my turn. No, thanks. That's really nice of you to say that.
Yeah, top that.
Yeah, try.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because we were both injured in. I guess I got my sacral in May, and then she had the. Yeah, like World was supposed to be in June and ended up not running. So yeah, June we were both hurt. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was an interesting time. Like we definitely just put our focus towards other things. Like we were in the market of like maybe looking for a house and looking like moving towards that process. So I think we just both focused on like other things. So we were fortunate that was like an opportunity we had. And then I don't know. I've been injured before. Like in college, I got injured with an Achilles thing, and it really derailed me. Like I was just like so upset all the time, and just felt like I was missing out on like what could be. But I don't feel that way necessarily now, because in college you only have like a certain amount of time, and so if you're getting hurt and it's like your 4th or 5th year, like it's kind of the end of it for you. But this is like hopefully a sport for the next 10 years that we can compete in. So I don't know, like we just tried to keep that perspective. At the same time, it was like a nice Montana summer, and we still got to go out on the river and fish and like do all these fun things. So it wasn't like, it was a bummer because we just like lost our goals for that summer, or that year, but at the same time, like still got to have like these other fun memories, and still went to Western States and got to like be with our respective sponsors and like see all these fun people. And so it all wasn't like that bad, but yeah, at least that's what we would talk about, I guess, to try to keep it positive.
Yeah.
For
Because
sure.
if we're both negative, it's like so bad.
Yeah. I think for sure. And I think it's really easy, like, and when you're in like, you know, a really competitive sport, or even just like, you know, like a highly competitive or driven work environment or anything like this, like if you're that invested in it, it can feel like when it goes wrong, it's like the freaking world crashing down. And that's very real. But I think like, you know, I was able to like bike pain free, like when I wasn't able to run this summer. And so it was like, well, it is like a Wednesday afternoon and I just went for a 4-hour gravel ride. So like a lot of people have a much more challenging life than I do. Like, you know, I think it just keeps some of those things in perspective.
Yeah, the perspective's important. And I love that you guys said you dabbled in so many other things this summer and really still did the things that you love, because I think it's really easy to kind of get down in the dumps and still not get outside, still not enjoy your Montana summer whenever things aren't going quite your way with your body and what you want to be doing. So yeah, props to you guys, because that's tough, especially both going through something kind of similar at the same time.
I am so excited to share that the Trail Network is supported by Osprey Packs, the premier pack company and creators of my personal favorite trail running pack, the Dyna 6. I've used the same Dyna 6 for the past 7 years without anything breaking. I've taken it on long days in the mountains, and I've done races in it, including the CCC 100-kilometer race at UTMB. All their packs are extremely comfortable and have top-notch durability. I'm so grateful to our friends at Osprey for supporting our podcast. Go check them out at osprey.com or at your favorite retail store.
Yeah, I guess from like the couple perspective too, thinking about like how you guys support each other at races and training, things like that. It seems like you guys approach training pretty differently. And I'm curious if you ever take advice from the other person, if the other person influences any of your behaviors in your training, any of your racing. What does that support look like from like a day-to-day basis, but like even then into races?
Yeah, I feel like when we started trail running, like, because I did my first trail race in 2019. And then, like, at that time, you were still running professionally for Northern Arizona, like on the roads and track. So, like, you started trail running and racing like a year or two after I did. But I feel like at that time when we were, like, I've been self coached since I started. I don't, yeah, I guess I just like coach myself. Uh, yeah, I've coached myself since I started. And then you've had two coaches, but you were self-coached like originally as well. And I feel like during that time when we were both self-coached, we like bounced a lot of ideas off of each other. But then, yeah, since you've had coaches, I feel like we don't bounce as many ideas off of each other, because I don't want to like step on the toes of our coaches, or even like, yeah, even like project my opinion to make it seem like I'm stepping on the toes of them. But I don't know. I feel like early on that was pretty helpful. Like we would just talk it through a little bit, and like you'd be like, oh, does this look like what you would do or what you'd recommend? And I'd do the same for you. But I don't know. Now I probably ask you for some advice, but all in all, I think early on we bounced a lot of ideas off each other, which was cool. Like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I almost see it more in terms of like less like what should I do and more like hashing out like what like I did do or something. Like I don't know. I feel like we've both been in the place for each other where it's like, well, I did this workout and like I really expected to be able to like hit this or do this, or does this mean that I'm not fit? Like, you know, like classic stuff where it's like any friend or like partner or someone could tell you like, no, you're totally like reading into this too much. You need to chill. It's like one day, like, you know, maybe the conditions were bad, maybe, you know, you didn't sleep well, whatever it is. And so I think I like see it sometimes more as like being that spot for each other to like, you can kind of bounce that back and be like, no, like relax, like you didn't lose your fitness in 3 days, like you're
Mhm.
gonna be fine. Just like talk each other off the ledge a little bit,
Totally.
because I definitely think it's super easy to get like lost in that.
That's true. Yeah, just give each other confidence. Well, yeah, and I feel like you also, because you ran at such a higher level than I did at Colorado, like you were so much better than me, and also went on to run pro on the roads and track.
Wild.
Like
You guys are so impressive.
but but I feel like you still want like your fitness to come from like workouts, like traditional workouts,
Yeah.
you know, like on the road. And I feel like I'm always telling you that that doesn't matter in trail, which that's maybe, I don't know, that's just my perspective. But you're always like, oh man, I couldn't do this workout this week because my Achilles was hurting. And I was like, I don't know, I didn't work out for like a year and I did fine in a traditional sense, you know, like
Yeah.
a trail running workout, I guess you could qualify as all sorts of different stuff, like a
Totally.
long run or whatever. But
Yeah, so I guess if you're like, if workouts aren't where like you gain your confidence, like what gives you confidence in your training then to feel like you're feeling like your most fit self?
yeah, probably for me, like I guess I feel most confident from probably just like stacking a bunch
Mhm.
of weeks in a row or just having like a really great block.
Yeah.
Like feeling healthy or big volume or um yeah, I'd say that's what it's been for me. Or just having like some races go well so
Yeah.
you know you're fit. But I was trying to think of like, yeah, because I don't do that many types of workouts that are like what we used to do when we were running in high school and college. But I think like if you finish a long run, like if you finish a 20-mile run and you like don't feel tired and say like you say it's a 3-hour run and had a bunch of climbing and you're not tired, to me, that's like more important than you like hit your mile repeats
Yeah.
just fine.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, like break in your head from running competitively for so long. Do you think that's how you think about your training and kind of fitness that way, like Adam described?
Yeah, I think it's been like tricky for me to like square like how to kind of judge like where your fitness is at with trail, like he was kind of saying, because like in the roads, if you're training for the 10K, like, and you want to run a certain time, you need to be able to run certain splits,
Yeah.
like period. And if you can't run them, you're not going to be able to run the time. And it's just much more black and white in that sense. And I think it's hard. I'm trying to teach myself that like in trail, I need to just like think about, like he's saying, like, how are you feeling on this long run? Like, how are you like absorbing training and all this stuff? And that's like, I think kind of just like hard for me mentally to like square, because I want to have like an objective thing that says like, you can podium here, like you can run this fast in a 50K, this fast in a whatever. But trail is just like so variable, and you're never going to have that data. Like, I trained with Jen Litcher in Missoula a little bit, and she was talking about like how like last year she had like obviously an incredible season, but she was like, I was actually like slower in road workouts than I was before, like the year before. Like she was like, I like couldn't run like, you know, like 5:20 pace or 5:30 paces comfortably anymore, but I actually had like a better year, which was kind of really good for me to hear from someone who's like very much like, you know, one of like my peers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, like if you can like can objectively see that and be like, it's fine then, like it's not, doesn't mean like that's gonna happen. Like that was like kind of nice for me.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like sometimes you want to see if I do X, then Y, then
Right.
I'll have that outcome. But
Right.
yeah, it's kind of like you mentioned, Adam, just like the stacking can give you confidence. The
Yeah.
putting weeks of volume together can give you confidence.
Yeah. But it is hard to know.
It is hard to know.
Yeah, especially trail, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of the times you just don't feel that. You don't feel sharp in the same way that you do when you were like in track or running cross country. Like you feel kind of sluggish all the time. So I don't know. I feel like for me, I had just had a few early on races where I did well, or like even races in Missoula where I did well, where I was like, okay, I'm actually like pretty fit,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't feel like it.
How do you feel like you're doing right now with this return from injury, with like comparing where you're at with like past versions of yourself? Because I'm sure there's peaks that you hit in Missoula that you've done in past training blocks, or workouts that you've done in past training blocks. How are you approaching kind of that comparison game these days?
Oh yeah. Early on I didn't do much comparison because I didn't really do like any, I don't know, any like key workouts like we were talking about. But I just built up so slowly that there wasn't much of a chance to feel like too out of shape until finally like was starting to get back in shape. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting close though. It's just like I said, you just don't know. But like I did a workout this last week that Free Trail they made a video on, and I actually
I'm
like
so
hit.
excited to see it.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
I heard you're left-handed as well.
Oh yeah, they were all excited about me being left-handed. Like, who cares?
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, no, it was like a compliment. They're saying like interesting people are left-handed, I guess,
okay,
but I don't know.
You're so nuanced.
Yeah, I guess I am all nuanced over here. But no, I did a workout. I did Sentinel, and then which is a hill in Missoula that like it's it's like 2,000 feet of climbing in a mile, 1.3 miles. But I did Sentinel sub 20, which was like the time I could hit like before Worlds, and then I ran down and did 5 by a mile. So it wasn't my fastest Sentinel ever, but it was actually like my fastest 5 by a mile, which was cool.
That's awesome.
So I feel good, but I'm also doing like I'm probably doing 25% less volume than I used to. Not totally in running. I don't cross train very much anymore. So at the same time, like I feel like volume is more important than just hitting this workout. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I feel good.
Yeah, I was gonna say having a healthy body is probably most important of all those things.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're feeling healthy right now, and
yeah,
it shows.
Yeah, no, I feel good.
That's awesome.
I take a day off every week too, so that like.
Is that new?
Oh yeah, I never used
to. Oh really?
Oh yeah, never ever.
Oh.
Yeah. I just didn't really like it.
What day of the week do you take off, or does it change?
It changes. Yeah. I was actually taking Monday
days.
off purely because I go fishing with my dad on my off day. And if I take Sunday off and we go fishing, everyone's fishing. But Monday, like no one is out there. So I just did it based on that. But I think I need to take Sunday off the next few weeks just because that'll make sense with canyons.
Yeah.
So my dad will be disappointed.
That's going to be crowded.
It's going to be crowded.
Yeah,
totally.
Maybe just one more question for both of you, reflecting a little bit more on the relationship piece of ultra running, and then just like performance for you guys over time. Erin, like looking at Adam's competition in the ultra running space since what you said 2019.
Yeah.
What's like the proudest moment that you've had being a spectator and fan and crew support for Adam?
Oh man. I mean, probably watching him win Western States just because like, I just like knew how much that meant to him. And it was like kind of fun seeing the predictions of like people being like, yeah, I don't know. He's only done like one real longer ultra. Like, I don't know if he can do it. Like he hasn't done enough of these yet. And then like getting to see it happen was like pretty awesome. I will say though, like, I feel like a pretty close second for me, which I don't know where he would land on like this in terms of like how stoked he was or proud of this performance. But when I was still living in Flag, he like came and did what was like his first like bigger trail race and like ran the Moab Trail Marathon. And I think the backstory is kind of required, which is like essentially that he spent like his last 2 years of college like with this heinous Achilles injury, like beating his head against the wall and like just not being able to like live up to where he should have been able to perform because of this, and just constantly being held back from it and kind of leaving college and being like, all right, well, like running kind of sucks. And like, that's not what I wanted. And I better like get stoked about some other stuff because that sucked. And
like
so
I retired pretty much.
Yeah. And I just like
sad.
watched him like just kind of suffer through that, you know, like it was terrible. And so then I think to see that, like, I don't know how much later that was, but
after
like,
college, it was like a year and a half.
Okay. That's what I was going to guess actually. Like a year and a half later, he had like re-gotten into running, like healed this Achilles, and then to come out and like have a performance that like, you know, I don't know, Moab's not everything, but it was like pretty commanding win. And like, he like crushed it. And it was like pretty cool to be like, to see him like get that back, I guess.
Come out the other side.
Right. Was like pretty special. That was like the start of the journey, like day one into being like now a world champion. So that was cool.
Crazy to say. Yeah, Erin, I feel like you came on my radar years ago when you got your golden ticket at Bandera for Western States. But then I think I saw you in action when you sprinted for was the 7th place at CCC a couple years back, which like put the fear of God in me for if I ever race you in a race. I was like, I never want Erin like close to me because holy crap. But yeah, Adam, from like all of Erin's racing over the time, I mean, like just at the high level that she's been racing for years and years and years. I don't know how your body and mind is still withstanding it, but like you guys are incredible. What's been just the proudest moment as being a crew spectator and fan for Erin?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, those two you just listed were really, really cool. Gosh, like I think yeah, and then she won Sonoma last year too, which was a cool performance. But I would probably say the Bandera one because so it's 100K and then 2 loops of a 50K. So I got to like crew her the first 50K, and that was like all pretty chill. Like you were in third, I think, and looking fine. And then I paced you the last 50K. So I had like front row seats to all this. And it was cool. I mean, like I felt like I don't know, it was just like one of your first trail races. And like we didn't expect, I feel like I didn't think that you were going to get a golden ticket. Like you thought that would be cool, but it wasn't necessarily the goal. And yeah, to just like go, she was in third. And then, I mean, I felt like we were running like not very fast for like 15 miles.
Oh, we were running
like,
slow.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, she was running along. I was like, all right, like we'll probably finish top 5 here. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, but in my head, I was like looking back, that's definitely what I was thinking. But then like we heard reports of the person in second ahead of her. It was like, they were like 15 minutes ahead. And then like we ran for like 30 minutes and they were like really close all of a sudden. And so it was clear like that I think it was Emily Hoggett.
Yeah,
it was.
Gone on to be significantly more successful than
Oh my
I
gosh. But that like we heard she was like way closer, and then we saw her, and this was maybe with like 10 miles to go. And I remember it was like you just like flipped a switch like as these reports were coming in, and then when you saw her, it was crazy. Like we went from running like we just sped up by like minutes per mile to the point where I feel like we were at like mile 55 and you were just running like 7-minute pace, like kind of uphill. And I was like, holy crap, this is insane. And you were just like passing all these dudes, like, and just it was really cool. And like just to have that happen on like the first try, and then yeah, like just I don't know, it's impressive how hard she's able to go during these ultras. Like it's very, very impressive.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, and then CCC was pretty terrifying. Her last mile was like 5:20 or something.
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, but I'd say Bandera. And it was just cool to be like up front and see it all happen. Because she'd had a similar thing too, like had left the sport of like running the 10K and 5K on the track and roads because of a back, like just a bunch of different injuries, but eventually like this back injury. And just to see her like go from that and retiring and then to getting second at Bandera like a little over a year later, it was just like, I don't know, it was just like validated to me that trail running was super cool. Like we were able to both come back and find like a second wind and running through it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And I feel like we're seeing like more people come over from the roads and the track to ultra and trail running. And I think it's really inspiring and crazy to see what kind of performances people are throwing down in that space. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for you guys. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. I think a lot of ultra and trail running moments are better when they're shared. And I think you guys are definitely evidence of that. So thanks for chatting. I love you both. And you guys are both huge inspirations to me.
Oh, thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for having us on the pod and in your home.
Thanks, guys.